Why does the world still remember Khalid ibn al-Walid?
Khalid ibn al-Walid. Khalid ibn al-Walid.
Because Khalid ibn al-Walid wasn't born into just any family. He was born into the richest family in Makkah, the Banu Makhzum, and his father was none other than al-Walid ibn al-Mughira, the wealthiest man in all of Arabia. He had so much wealth that Allah even mentioned it in the Quran.
Leave me alone with the one I created alone. I granted him abundant wealth and sons always present with him, and I made life easy for him in every way. Yet he desires that I give him even more.
To maintain the Kaaba, the entire city of Makkah would gather funds, but al-Walid ibn al-Mughira would give that same amount by himself. This means that Khalid lived a prince-like life in Makkah. With so much wealth, Khalid didn't need to work for anything except one thing, and that one thing made him the greatest general Makkah would ever know. At that time, there were three major tribes in Makkah: Banu Hashim, who controlled Makkah's religion; Banu Umayyah, who were known only for their money; and Khalid's tribe, Banu Makhzum, who were responsible for protecting Makkah. Every man in this tribe was a fierce warrior. They captured wild horses and trained them for war. Because of this, Khalid became an expert on horses from a very young age, and later on, he would win most of his battles using the same horses from his tribe. Khalid would also travel to cities in the Roman Empire for various tasks, and he would be amazed by the huge buildings and structures there. But he had no idea that one day, those same Romans would tremble at the sound of his name. While Khalid was enjoying a comfortable life funded by his father's wealth, Allah chose his final prophet in a small cave nearby. From that moment, the world slowly began to change, as the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, began spreading Islam in Makkah. At first, only the poor accepted Islam. But one rich man, al-Walid ibn al-Mughira, would come to the Prophet daily to listen to the Quran. However, as word spread through Makkah that al-Walid was leaning towards Islam, he turned away only because of what people would say, and became one of Islam's biggest enemies. But things truly escalated when he said the Prophet Muhammad was a magician and claimed the Quran is nothing special, it's just old magic that's been passed down. These are simply the words of a man. Because of this act, the Muslims suffered greatly, and Allah personally responded in the Quran,
"Indeed, he denied our signs. I will make him suffer a steep ascent. He planned, so may he be destroyed for what he planned. Then he looked, then he frowned and scowled. Then he turned away and acted arrogantly, and said, 'This is only magic from old. This is nothing but the word of a human.'"
Shortly after these verses were revealed, al-Walid ibn al-Mughira died, but the oppression in Makkah became so intense that Muslims could no longer bear it. Eventually, they were forced to migrate from Makkah to Medina, where they began to establish the first Islamic state. While Muslims were in Medina, Khalid ibn al-Walid had traveled outside of Arabia for business. But when he returned, he found that everything in Makkah had changed. Cries and screams were coming from every household. When Khalid asked what had happened, his family told him that while he was away, a great battle took place between the people of Makkah and the Muslims of Medina, the Battle of Badr. And the Muslims from Medina had killed the chief of their clan, Abu Jahl, as well as 25 of Khalid's cousins. Not only that, his elder brother, Walid ibn al-Walid, had also been captured by the Muslims. Furious, Khalid immediately set off for Medina to rescue his brother. When he arrived, the Muslims demanded 4,000 gold coins in exchange for his release. This was a massive amount of money at the time, but for Khalid, it meant nothing. He paid the Muslims the 4,000 gold coins, took his brother, and began the journey back to Makkah. Khalid thought the people of Makkah would celebrate his return, but that night, both brothers had to spend the night on the road. And in the morning, Khalid woke up to find that his brother was gone, but in his place was a letter that said, "Khalid, my brother, forgive me. I have returned to Medina without telling you, because I have never seen anyone like Muhammad, peace be upon him. And now that you've rescued me, I want to live a free life in Medina by my own choice, and I want to accept Islam." Walid ibn al-Walid had embraced Islam, but Khalid was still burning with rage, his heart set on revenge for his fallen family. So the next year, when the people of Makkah were preparing for war, Abu Sufyan saw the fire in Khalid's eyes and for the first time made him the general of Makkah's army. The army of 3,000 soldiers from Makkah began marching toward Medina, while the Muslims, only 1,000 strong, were already waiting near the mountains of Uhud. But just before the battle began, 300 hypocrites abandoned the Muslims, leaving only 700 believers. Out of those, the Prophet placed 50 soldiers on a nearby mountain to guard the rear and protect against surprise attacks. He gave them clear instructions. Even if we win the battle, do not come down from this mountain. And if you see us defeated, even if birds are eating our corpses, do not come down. Meanwhile, Khalid ibn al-Walid was carefully watching those 50 men. As the battle began, the Muslims attacked with such force that the disbelievers started retreating. Abu Sufyan shouted at Khalid, "Why are you standing there? Go and fight!" But Khalid knew, as long as those 50 men were guarding the mountain, victory was impossible. Eventually, as the Quraysh army began fleeing, some of the 50 Muslim guards believed the battle was won. They abandoned their posts to collect the enemy's leftover spoil. The moment Khalid saw this, he gathered his cavalry, took half the army, and attacked from behind the mountain. Now the Muslims were being attacked from both sides, and they lost the battle. Many great companions were martyred, including the beloved uncle of the Prophet, peace be upon him, Hamza. Everyone now knew Khalid ibn al-Walid was a dangerous and brilliant general. The people of Makkah welcomed him back as a hero. Now that Khalid had avenged his family, he had no reason left to keep fighting the Muslims in Medina. He was present during the Battle of the Trench, but that battle was a victory for the Muslims. Eventually, a time came when Khalid realized that the greatest strategist in the world wasn't him. It was the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. How did the Prophet Muhammad praise Khalid? How did Khalid return to Medina, defying his own family? How did he accept Islam? And after accepting Islam, how did he lead the Muslims in their first battle, the Battle of Mu'tah? We'll find out in the next video, so make sure to subscribe to the channel for part 2.